Welcome back to another episode of Discover New Music. I've known this guy and his brother for entirely too long, and I always tell people whenever I do these interviews while I'm doing my prep, I listen to the artist, so it kind of puts me in that spot. And man, Dameon, I went back to 2008, Still in the Dark, Aranda, like debut big album that came out and what got me hooked all those years ago. And now here we are. Let's see, that was 10,
15 years.
15 years.
Yep.
15 years, man. I've known you guys for 15 years. Is that, well, first of all, I apologize for having to deal with me for 15 years. Second of all, how's that feel? I mean, you obviously, you and Gabe have been playing together since you were in Huggies, but now in this arena with albums and everything, 15 years at this level, what's that settle in for you?
Man, I mean, of course it's kind of surreal. I mean, I remember when we first heard our first song on the radio, it was Still in the Dark. And I can remember when we would head up, and JJO was one of the biggest supporters right off the bat, and we were up there, but you were up there, and it just seemed like we'd hit it off we had hit it off really well. But then when you came up and sang Brown Eyed Girl with us,
Oh man,
I think that was probably one of the highlights of '08.
oh my God. Was that New Year's Eve? I think that was.
Yeah,
Oh
I think it
my
was.
God
But
almighty.
it's weird that you talk about, 15 years ago, because we're the label that put out that record contacted us a couple months ago about we're putting out a 15th anniversary for all the digital platforms, a super deluxe. So it's just going to have like so many like unheard cuts from back in the day,
Wow.
basically. But also too, they're releasing a double vinyl of basically the whole album plus all those songs on there live. And I was just like, man, we're sitting there and we're discussing it and going through it. And I was like, damn, I'm getting older. So because because that's kind of a milestone. It's a 15-year anniversary deluxe edition. Like I couldn't wrap my head around that. I was like, man, we've been around long enough to now we're doing deluxe anniversary editions, So that's, which is funny. I'm like, man, and then you have albums right after that. So those anniversaries are coming up too. We had Stop the World after that, and then Not the Same, and those records. And so it's just wild. We've been around a long time, man.
Well, I think it goes. I'm speaking for everyone, and I have no problem saying this. It's been an amazing 15 years, and of course with ups and downs, tragedy in the band, and things you guys have gone through, and hitting that milestone, and this new record and new music that we're seeing. Is it kind of a, I know you mentioned surreal, but is there something more poignant to this? Like at this point, like something, if you were to look back, see where we're at now and where you were, is there something that really stands out with the band, or something that really you kind of hang your hat on with this?
Man, I think overall, with the scene that we ended up getting into, because when we recorded the Aranda record, we just did what we did. We weren't trying to think about like, let's fit into this genre, or let's fit into this box, or let's fit into whatever. Man, especially that record, we were just really like, man, this is just music we love.
Yeah.
And this is just music that we love to do. So from that standpoint, I always will cherish that record in particular, because there was no record company per se saying you have to do this, or man, can you at least give us a little bit of this, or whatever it may be. And so as we continued our journey, and man, like you said, lots of ups and downs. Probably our most successful record was the one right after that, which was Stop the World, which had just really a lot of radio success with that record. Which was amazing. But man, once we got to Not the Same, and we had a couple more radio hits from that record, man, we almost just completely called it quits after that, because we had just gotten to a place where, man, there was so much around this thing where, and here's the thing, I give kudos to all the bands out there that go out there relentlessly and work their freaking tails off, just to really make ends meet. You know what I mean? And I think sometimes you get to a point, especially when you bring kids and family and stuff into the picture, where you have to start making some hard decisions. You know what
Yep.
I mean? And
Yep.
the one after Not the Same for us was, man, we need to slow this boat down a little bit, and we need to spend some time with our families.
Yep.
And man, we had gotten to a point in late 2018 where we had gotten recharged and we were ready to go back out
Yep.
and just hit this thing really hard. And um, we just started getting hit with tragedy after tragedy. Our producer that produced Not the Same, he passed away. His name's Kato Kandwala, and
Mhm.
he passed away in a motorcycle accident
Yeah.
in 2018. And man, and we were just, we had such a blast recording that record. And, you know, we had planned to do some more things together. And just hearing that news, that was pretty crushing. And then our sound guy, that we had just been on the road with us for 10, I mean, he started with us in '09, you know,
Yeah.
and then late 18, man, he passed away, had a heart attack, passed away. He was 49 years
Mhm.
old, you know.
Yep. Yep.
Uh, so very, for us, was very unexpected and just kind of rocked us. And man, then you get to the beginning of 2019 and we're like, okay, our drummer Mike, um he came over to the studio and we were like, we had this plan. We were like, okay, we're recording this record. And it was, everybody was really and starting to get back in good spirits and we were ready to do this. Well, you know, a month later, we're in the studio. I kid you not, man. We are in the studio. Me and my brother hadn't been together for probably about 3 weeks at the time. We
Yeah.
both come over to the studio and we get a call saying that my dad just suddenly passed. And
Mm.
our dad lives in the same city with us. So we rushed over to my grandma's, where he was at. And just, dude, it was just crushing, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
just trying to get that off the ground. And we just, at that point, we knew we were going to kind of push pause on everything. And we had, man, we had gotten everything for my dad together. We had done a beautiful service and it was amazing. And then Mike had called me, our drummer, and he was like, man, he wasn't able to make my dad's funeral. And he was just like, man, I am so sorry I didn't make it. He's like, man, let's, you know, catch some dinner next week and figure some stuff out. Well, that next weekend, he, him and his wife passed away, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And at that point, man, we just had kind of gone, what the heck are, we again pushed pause again
Yeah.
and complete.
Understandably, after tragedy, but that just deflating. How do you go into the studio? How do you do anything other than just kind of, I don't know, sit and wonder what is happening, you know?
Well, it definitely got to a point um where we, you know, we stopped and then we didn't think about really anything. I think like 4 or 5 months later, we did one gig. We
Yeah.
did one gig, and it was one actually that we had just promised that we had for like 6 months what we were going to go do. So we were like, man, Mike would want us to go do this. Let's go do this. But man, for the rest of that year, man, we were MIA again. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And at that point, it was like, man, are we going to do this
Yeah.
again? And we, uh, the only thing that we had really going for us at that point was the connection piece. I think that music has with everybody, which is you connect with people so much through brokenness
Yes.
and through those things. And so your heart's kind of connect in that way. Like a lot of our fans, just even with some of the songs that we've done throughout the years, like Still in the Dark or like Satisfied or something like that.
Yep.
Man, I just remember all the time when people would come up and we'd go, oh my gosh, that's your story too, or it's very similar, or this hit me this way. And so we still had a lot of that. And man, with all this grief and all this stuff going on, man, eh, there was just so much in us still.
Yeah.
There was so much in us still. So fast forward to early 2020, and again, we're like, okay, let's, you
Mhm.
know, it been about 8, 9 months. We were like, okay, we're gonna go back, get back in the saddle again. We're gonna do this thing.
Yeah.
Well, then COVID hits. uh I mean, literally like 2 weeks 2 weeks, you know,
Yeah,
into
yeah.
into that. But the one thing that we didn't let that do was stop us, because we were just like, you know what? Um, as we were basically experiencing all this grief still,
Mhm.
now the world was experiencing all this grief just through, I mean, you know, all the stuff that was happening with
Oh, yeah.
COVID and the way that it was affecting people and the way, you know, just overall, some of it was actually even just dividing us and all
Mhm.
those things. And so, man, there was still so much to talk about, so much to connect with, so much. So, man, we just put our heads down and started writing
Yeah.
and writing and writing, and writing. And then finally we were like, you know, one of my good friends, that is a producer, he lives in the city. And I was like, you know what? We're doing this album. You're going to do it with us. We're
Come
doing
hell
this.
or high water, we're getting her done. That's what it is.
Exactly. If I have to, you know, put on 6 masks to go over and do this, fine. Whatever it takes, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, so we started going over there and piecing this thing together.
Mhm.
And the name of the record is Recollections of a Painted Year.
Yeah.
And um, one of the first songs we said we had to finish was the one that we started with Mike. And
Oh,
that was the one called Pay For.
yeah.
Um, and it was kind of funny because that song was birthed out of really, you know, it's Pay For, and then for a while we had named it Pay For parentheses the Underdog,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
it really had, I had kind of spearheaded some of this, um I guess, overall thought process of, man, I in 2015 I lost my voice completely. Like
Yeah.
it went, like it just went, and there was a lot of things that contributed to that. But um I remember I had a guy that was like, man, you guys aren't going to do that. It looks like you guys are done, you know, you're not going to be able to sing again. I heard that, and I started literally thinking, okay, you kind of put yourself in that position. It's like a, you know, a pretty decent basketball team that's going up against the best basketball team, and somehow they're the underdog, and
Yep.
got this in the head that everybody is against us.
Yeah. Yep.
For some reason, that fuels you
Yeah.
to kind of achieve and do better than you would normally do with maybe no motive, you know. And so, man, that kind of became my personal mantra
Yeah.
of like, man, you know, and I kind of painted it out where, hey, you know, I got one more shot at this. I'm the underdog, you know, a la Eminem a little bit. And then you only got one shot. And
One
then,
shot. That's it.
you know what I mean? And
Oh
then,
yeah.
and dude, and then, you know, man, it's just like, man, uh, basically that everybody's going to eat their words
Yeah.
for doubting us. And that was kind of the thought process behind it. And the other thing I knew, man, is I knew millions of people could connect with that, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because
Mhm.
everybody, man, I don't care who you are, at some point in your life there's a little, you've either been really down and out or at least halfway there, you know.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so that definitely spearheaded that song. And the cool thing about that is 2 weeks before all the COVID stuff hit, or 3 weeks before, something like that, we had hung out a lot with Vernon Reed from Living Color.
Which
And
I saw that you have, he is featured on this, which that was a question of
dude,
mine is what is it like having a guy like Vernon Reed to now contribute to a song and something that took such a journey to get to, and now this retribution, this rising from the ashes almost, that with, and now having Vernon Reed on there, that's awesome.
dude, Vernon Reed, I mean, when I was a young tyke, I would say 12, 13, seriously 12, 13 years old, you know, we would, the way that I learned guitar was we would go down the street and grab the Guitar World magazine,
Mm-hmm.
and it would have, you know, the 4 or 5 biggest songs tabbed out. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yep. Oh yeah, I remember.
Oh, dude. So, man, you've heard the Cult of Personality guitar solo from Vernon, and it's just all over the place, and it's just wild. Like how, like when you look at the tab, it looks just like a foreign language. You know what
Yep.
I mean? You're just
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, yeah.
My
So
fingers don't do that.
never,
I don't think that's possible.
no, but the first two Living Color records were so influential for Gabe and I. I
Mhm.
mean, seriously, literally, when Gabe was a teenager, I mean, literally everybody was like, "Man, are you trying to be Corey Glover? Are you trying to be that guy?" You know, because Gabe would sing, but he would sing with soul, and he would sing with runs, and he would put maybe more of an R&B flair on
Yeah.
rock music. you know, which I always thought was so cool. You know what I mean? And kind of again gave even what we were doing then a little bit of a different sound. You know, you got all
Yeah.
these series, but Living Color was the epitome of that. You know
Oh
what I mean?
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So long story short, when he said yes to doing that, because we just asked him, we were just
Yeah.
like, dude, would you even possibly think of that?
Yeah.
I think of doing that. And, you know, it was right during middle of COVID. So, you know, we were flying files back and forth. You know, he was just
Mhm.
because we couldn't meet in person. But when we got those back and we put them in the session, I was just like,
Oh my
dude,
God.
it's like the best, you know, Aranda guitar solo is not played by me. and and I'm completely okay with it.
Yeah. Is that like Vernon Reed? Do you give notes to him, like whatever he sends back? You're like, all right, that's perfect, that's good. I don't care what
Dude,
it is. We're done.
he gave us probably like 5 or 6 passes.
Yeah.
So we probably did splice together a couple of like the best things. But
Yeah.
once he sent them, we didn't bother him anymore. We were like, great job. We'll let you know when it's
Thank
done.
you. That's
Thank
right.
you.
Yes. Yes. Thank you,
You.
sir, for this gift. It's so cool and just adds. And again, for you, who you're a guitar player in my mind. I've always seen that anybody who's ever watched you play, every note is felt, every bend of the string, it's all there. And so to see you get giddy over a guitarist now that you grew up listening to, is pretty fun and a treat for everyone that gets to hear Pay For the Underdog. And I want to touch on something there because, you know, and you talking about this and kind of your feelings with this song, that anthem-esque song, which you guys have had plenty in your day. I mean, you go back to Why You Want to Bring Me Down. I mean, that was, people use that as a rally cry, and it was on the WWE anyway. What do you think is so cool about putting together these anthem-esque songs that just have that drive, that push, and that message of, all right, this is it, you know?
Well, I mean, again, it's unity, you
Yeah.
know. When you gather around an idea or something that you're kind of in this together, and it's aggressive, it makes for awesomeness at the concerts. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like,
for sure. Yeah.
because everybody gets rowdy. One of the songs we did on Not the Same was called We Are the Enemy.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you know, if you're looking for a fight,
Yeah.
it just that kind of a lyric over that. I mean, it just gets people going. And also too, man, it's great for sports endorsements, man.
Oh, hey, you take
You
it
know?
what you can. I got no fault on that right there. So.
Oh man, I remember I'm a Chicago Bears fan, and I don't want anybody from Wisconsin getting upset with me because I respect Green Bay. And
You had a rough year this year. Well, we won't say too much. So did we.
dude, it was so brutal. It was so brutal. It was really hard. But you know, with being brutal, the number one pick in the draft, that
Hey,
sounds pretty good.
yeah, you'll be all right. You'll be all right.
We'll be all right. Yeah. Anyway, besides that, I hope we don't lose any Wisconsin fans because of that.
No, you'll be all right. Your music and our love for your music outweighs that you root for the
Okay.
Bears, so you'll be all right. Don't you worry.
Cool. But they used that song. I think it was in the 2014 or 15 season. They used the song called "Stand" on "Stop the World,"
Yep.
and they used it in the middle of some of the timeouts at the Chicago Bears game, specifically the Chicago Bears games.
Oh,
and
nice.
So for me, I was like, "Hey, man,
I did it.
if that's all there is,
Yeah.
cool with me."
I see. I can totally relate, because if anything I ever did ended up on or around Lambeau, I'd be fine. I'd be like, I don't care what it is. This is my legacy now, and that's it. Nothing else matters. I've made the promise.
Exactly. But you know what? I would have felt almost as awesome if the Green Bay Packers fans or we would have heard our song in that stadium. It's all it's all love at the end of the day, as far as just where the music is spreading and where the music is going. But anthems, man, they're unifying, man, and they're also a battle cry for people.
Well, we definitely got that with this new one, and it's just when you've heard the song, and everyone has, it's got that what's the word? It's that classic Aranda build up. It hits you, and then you guys have that beautiful kind of I don't like the crescendo where and then you just bring it right back down. You drop the hammer, and I just love that. I love the uniqueness of that, and just kind of your little twist on it, because a lot of people could have put maybe just another little, I don't know, guitar solo bridge in there, but you brought that in. Why is it always so important for you guys to put that little Aranda twist? I mean, I know it's your music, but that thing that you, even going back to, the early days and putting a little R&B in your stuff, that Aranda flavor in there.
Well, I guess it's good and bad sometimes for us career wise, but for us, I mean, it comes back to the love of the craft, the love of trying to figure out, how can you make this a little bit different? Does this feel, basically not settling, a lot of the times when you get in the songwriting room and you start bouncing ideas off, man, just go with that. That sounds good. Let's just do that, especially when you're writing a lot, you know what I mean? When you're doing 100, 200 songs a year, you start getting to this thing where it's like, oh man, you know what? We'll catch it next time, or, we'll work a little bit harder now. And so you have to fight against that, because I think that's just human tendency. But man, I mean, even with Pay For, we knew that we thought it was cool because it kind of had that little Zeppelin-y riff at the beginning, and, it harkens back to kind of some of that. But man, harmony has always been a big thing in our music. You know what I mean? We love to layer. We love to do those things. We love, bands like the Doobie Brothers, bands like Queen, people that use that. It was rock, but man, you had to be able to really sing and really understand harmony to pull that stuff off. And so, man, we get excited when, it's like, oh man, we're going to do more than 3 parts on this song. Okay. It's like, oh, let's figure that out, we're doing a flat 6 in this. Oh, okay, cool.
Well, we are just over the moon, especially us here in Wisconsin, because and like I said, going back to when I was a young man at JJO and the first time hearing Still in the Dark, and now here we are 15 years later. And obviously, again, you and Gabe have been doing that for so much longer, back doing your cover days and all that. And then here we are. And that actually does kind of lead me to my last thing before we get to the final wrap up is you and Gabe have literally, again, when I say since you and Huggies, with the musical upbringing that you had with your folks and everything, and that tutelage and growing in the musical world and now making a career out of it. Is it a blessing or a curse? Maybe both, knowing each other so well musically, personally, when it comes to putting that record together, to putting that music together. I guess explain that dynamic, because you don't see that a lot.
Man, I guess as the years have gone by a little bit more, I would definitely say that it's a positive, because, man, we've really learned and know each other so well now. We know each other's strengths. We know each other's weaknesses. And we just really kind of understand. It's really weird. It's like we can finish each other's sentences 95% of the time.
Yeah.
And when you have that kind of bond, and we've pretty much been together through everything that we've both experienced in our lives. You know what I mean? I can't think of another human being on the planet I've experienced more ups with and more downs with than my brother, And so that translates, man, to the trust in the music too. So when we get together, we do write and we do these things, man, we just trust, man, and trust each other's strengths, and honestly just rely on that stuff, and rely on our strengths, and rely on our tendencies. And this album especially, man, I just think we were really in a good groove of, man, you're good at this, do this. You're good at this, do this. And it just makes the team dynamic so special, because it really felt like we weren't fighting this time. We weren't fighting each other on anything on this record.
Yeah. Yeah. I think trust is just such a great way to put that, because I honestly think either one of you could just do a blind song showcasing, like, all right, this is what we got. And I think that trust is there, where you're like, okay, yeah, I think this would be great. And then then that just kind of trickles down to the rest of the production of it. So I just love it. And I love that we got new Aranda, because that just makes me very, very, it makes everyone very, very happy. Me personally, especially because I remember sitting in the JGO studio when I was a young man, and just blasting Still in the Dark until my ears hurt. And it's such a great thing. So I'm getting the countdown timer. You and I have obviously chatted like we always do. We just go and go and go. I love it. Before we get to rapid fire, what can we expect here? I know you guys probably hit the road, do some things, but what's in the upcoming 2023 for Aranda?
Really, you'll definitely hear a lot more new music, for sure, because we're working hard. I think we're going to start our next really like big project, which basically for us means album. We're going to probably start that April, May this time. But when you say that can last till August or September, and then it gets released in like January or something. So that, but in the meantime, there will be some more songs coming out. We just did a really cool version of one of the songs, basically kind of a reimagined version of a song called The Light and Dark. And we just did a music video for it. And we're definitely thinking about putting that out, I think in March.
Okay.
And so really excited to see what happens with that. Just a lot as far as on the touring front of things. Man, we've been all the stuff that we've been doing the last 6-8 months has all been headlining stuff for the most part.
Yeah.
But we're not quite used to that. Usually we team up with another band and we're like a direct support thing. So it's been different. But we feel like, hopefully we get 30 or 40 shows in this year,
Nice. Well, we hope to see you in our neck of the woods sooner than later. It's always a pleasure having Aranda around. And yeah, just new, exciting 2023. Great way to start. You're my first interview of the year. So it's gonna only,
really?
It's only gonna go down from here. That's it. You set the bar way up here. So
I will say that we are at a place, I think it's called Stormy's Beaver Dam.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
April 1st.
April 1st. Look at that.
Yep.
No joke on that one. No fooling around. I love it.
Exactly. I'm no fooling around. Hey.
All right. Well, thank you so much for chatting music. Before we go, let's have even more fun. It's time for rapid fire. Okay. And I think I've played rapid fire with you and Gabe a couple of times. They're just goofy questions that don't make any sense. It's just me being a dum-dum. So but no wrong answers. You just go with what your gut says, what Dameon feels. So here we go.
I can't think about it too much either, right?
No, don't get in your head. That's the problem. That's the problem. All right, let's start off simple. Waffles or pancakes?
Pancakes.
Pancakes. You're more of a Southern guy, so I'm surprised on that. You guys like your Waffle Houses and stuff over there.
We do, but pancakes, I feel like you can do more with them.
All right, I'll know what to make you. That's good.
Yeah.
More guitar, drums, or vocals in the monitor?
Vocals for sure.
Yeah. This is a guitarist question. You probably appreciate this. Steve Vai or Joe Satriani? I know it's a tough one. Because you probably love them both.
I love them so much, and they were so influential, both of them. By a hair, Steve Vai.
By a hair. I like it. I knew that one was going to be tough for you. Would you rather have damp socks or soaked pants?
Soaked pants.
Soaked pants. See, damp socks suck, right? You just ate.
It's the worst. I can't function.
Yeah. Take them off. Vanilla or chocolate?
Chocolate.
Chocolate. Would you rather see Bigfoot or El Chupacabra?
Man, I'm Bigfoot probably.
So now, serious question here. Have you felt like you've been close to seeing Bigfoot in maybe your travels? I know Oklahoma boy. I'm sure there's some Bigfoot nut bars out there too.
No, I feel like I've never
come close.
Close. No.
It's always a fun one to see if you've really gotten into it. Like, I swear to God, we were on the road one day and there was Bigfoot.
No, but we have hit a few deer.
Yeah.
They were probably as big as Bigfoot.
Yeah, there you go. Worked through a few of those. Maybe it was Bigfoot and he ran away. Who knows? Last one for you. Would you rather fight one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses?
One horse-sized duck.
Really? You're ballsy, man.
Yeah, I just I know my target. I know what I got to do. 100's just too much to think about.
Yeah, they just getting at your ankles and stuff.
Yeah, that's kind of, that's a little on the creepy side. It's like They
Yeah.
can run your legs and do all sorts of weird stuff.
Little horse hooves flicking you in the ankle,
Exactly.
right?
Other,
Get out of here.
other places too. Yeah.
I like it. Well, I would have taken the little horsies, but you're a brave man. I like that. That's a big duck. That's a big duck. All right. Well, thank you for humoring me as always. I appreciate it, brother. And more
Those were
important,
amazing. I was not expecting those questions. So
yeah,
great.
yeah. Like I like to keep them keep you guessing. I don't want you to get comfortable.
Yeah.
Well, again, everyone, 2023 off to a great start with new Aranda and more to come. And Dameon, I love you, brother. And
Love you too, man.
I can't wait to see you guys next time. Everyone can't wait to see you. And yeah, just look for more. And I appreciate the time as always, man.
Man, thank you, Brock. Appreciate you.